10.3b is reviewing all three forms. So far in Algebra 1, we've talked about vertex form, standard form, and factored form. So a couple of reminders. Vertex form, y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. The information that is easily obtained, or the information that we can find easily from this, is our vertex, which is the point hk, and we can also easily find the a value. Then we have standard form. Well, standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So our information easily obtained is, again, the a value. And then remember, our y-intercept is the point 0, c. So that's the information easily obtained from this form. Last but not least is factored form, y equals a times x minus p times x minus q. Well, information easily obtained, again, still the a value. And then our x-intercepts, right? Our x-intercepts, which are the points, p0 and q0. So those are our three forms. So we're just going to take another look at them. Again, all of this information is review. So try and make those connections back to our previous lessons. So we're going to start off, and we have y equals negative 2 times x plus 1 times x minus 3. We have this equation, and we have a graph of that same equation. And we want to write it in vertex form. Well, vertex form, we need our vertex, or h and our k, and we need our a value. Remember, the really nice thing about all three forms is that the a does not change. So since we know that a is negative 2 in our factored form, we know a is negative 2 in our vertex form. Well, then our vertex, we could use our equation to find it, right? We could find our halfway point between our x-intercepts, but we could just take our shortcut and use our graph. So here's our vertex at the point. So we go over 1 and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have the point 1, 8. And let's put it all together. So we will have y equals negative 2 times x minus 1 squared plus 8. And that is our vertex form. Okay? So notice that even though these equations, they are written differently, these are the exact same equation. Right? If we were to graph both of these, they'd be the exact same parabola. So we can actually write any quadratic equation in any form. We could also write this in standard form. They're just three representations of the exact same thing. Let's look at another one. So factored form. Well, factored form, we need to know our a value, our p, and our q, right? So we need our x-intercepts. Well, we've got our x-intercept negative 1, 0, and 3, 0. So we have our p and our q. Well, then we still need our a value, so there are a couple different ways we could do this. We could find it algebraically by plugging everything in and finding another x and y value to plug in. Or we could just use our shortcut. So I'm going to use the shortcut. So I'm going to start at my vertex, and normally we'd go over 1 and up 1, but on this parabola we go over 1 and down 2. So our a value is negative 2. A is negative 2. Let's put it all together. Y equals negative 2 times x minus a negative 1 is really x plus 1, and times x minus 3. So that is our factored form of this quadratic. Last but not least, let's take a look. And here we have the same equation in factored form. Right, y equals negative 2 times x plus 1 times x minus 3. Here is the vertex form of this exact same quadratic. Y equals negative 2 times x minus 1 squared plus 8. And we want to write it in standard form. So if you have factored or vertex, it's actually really easy to find that standard form, because all you have to do is multiply out either of the two forms, and it really doesn't matter which one. So let's start with our factored form. We've got negative 2 times x plus 1 times x minus 3. So we could use our box method. So if you think back to our box method, we could use that to multiply. We've got x plus 1, x minus 3. Well, x times x is x squared. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. x times 1 is 1x, and negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. So we have negative 2 times x squared plus x minus 3x. And I'm just writing out what was in my box, and then minus 3. Well, we are almost done. We can combine these two middle terms. X minus 3x is negative 2x. So we have negative 2 times x squared minus 2x minus 3. And then last but not least, we're going to multiply the a through. You should always multiply the a through as your very last step. Just always save that a value for last. Negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 2x is positive 4x. Negative 2 times negative 3, well, that'd be a positive 6. So y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 6. So again, to get from factored form to our standard form, all we did was multiply our quadratic together. Let's try with vertex form, see what happens. Y equals negative 2 times x minus 1 squared plus 8. Well, I could use my box method, or I could use my FOIL method, right? Just use my arrows for distribution. So I'm going to expand this to x minus 1 times x minus 1. All right, well, we have x times x, which is x squared, x times negative 1, which is negative x, negative 1 times x, which is negative x, and negative 1 times negative 1, which is positive 1. Remember, all of that is still in parentheses. Multiplying all of that by negative 2, and then we're adding 8 here at the end. Well, we're going to combine these terms. Negative x minus x is negative 2x. So we have negative 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 1. Remember, all that's in our parentheses. Right? That's what we're multiplying negative 2 by. And then we have that plus 8 just tagging along at the end. Last but not least, we just need to distribute. Negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 2x, right? Our negatives cancel out, so we get a positive 4x. Negative 2 times positive 1 is negative 2. Right, so now our parentheses are gone, and we still have that plus 8 taken along at the end. Well, negative 2 plus 8 is positive 6. So y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 6. What do you notice about these two forms? Okay. Hopefully by looking at them, you notice that they are the exact same. So again, it didn't matter if we multiplied out our factored or our vertex form. Either way, we ended up with that same standard form of y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 6. Okay. So really reviewing all three forms, you've seen this stuff before, so just keep that in mind. And we're really going to focus on finding the connections between all three forms, right? We have our factored, our vertex, and our standard. These are just three different ways to write the exact same equation.